I was born in the American Midwest, central Michigan, the water-winter wonderland. I was raised in the arms of an extended rural family, mostly farming folk, solid, hardworking, quiet, giving. I was born into warmth and plenty to eat, a sense of place and a surety of security. And I was born into stories about the value of work and the right way to live, stories about God and country, about community, loyalty, steadfastness, and resolve, stories about the role and place of humans on this planet, stories about our relationship to something we called nature. I was born into stories. Nobody told me these stories. They didn't have to. The stories were the air I breathed, the water in which I swam, the ground upon which I walked. They were all around me. We didn't even know they were stories. We just thought they were the way things are. My world was a playground. There were fish to catch, boats to row, parades to watch, trails to hike, lakes to swim, snowmobiles to ride, games to play, presents to open, and family to share it all with. The days would end with sunsets and fireworks, and sometimes I would dance until I collapsed with joy. It was a magical land, cherry popsicles and warm milk, birthday cakes and store-bought costumes and brand new chairs under the tree, a land of giant geese, well-dressed poodles, talented birds, and even more talented people. The earth was our merry-go-round, our monkey bars, our swing set. As long as we didn't look down, everything would be just fine. I was born halfway up the population explosion. I was born on the slope of rising CO2 levels. I was born in the foothills of a mass extinction. I was born on the rocky rise of oil production. I was born facing forward, looking ever upward, my first step a step upslope, a step into progress, a step into a vast and glorious human future. We were moving on up. There was no looking back. There was a mountain to conquer, and conquer it we would. All we had to do was climb a bit further. But the mountain we were climbing was not what we thought it was. Rather than rising from natural forces, the slopes up which we were headed were the results of imbalance and short-sightedness. In our efforts to progress, to succeed, to improve, to strive, to overcome, to manage, to shape, to solve, and to grow, we wielded huge new forces across the globe. We walked as giants upon the earth, unaware of the footprints we left behind. I have walked that path, unaware of my own big feet, enacting the stories of our culture, not stopping long enough to feel the instability of the slope underfoot. But in the late 80s, news of the ozone hole and global warming first hit me, and the ground began to shake. I stopped and looked around me for the first time. I got scared. I got involved. And then the shaking subsided. Or rather, I just got used to it. Life got more complex with the births of my 3 children, and there was climbing still to do, so I continued to climb. But the tremors were still there underfoot. At night I slept, but fitfully, clenched with worries, my dreams assaulted by vague rumblings from the future. In my dreams I would stand at the pinnacle of the present and look out over the surrounding terrain, and it did not look like I had thought it would. A faint howling in the distance pierces the night. The monsters we have created, lumbering to rampant life, are heading, even now, toward our village. Nuclear weapons biding their time, itching with purposes unfulfilled, as hopeful fingers tremble near buttons. Bunker busters and tactical nukes, suitcase bombs and terrorist acts, power plant accidents and leaking wastes. Plutonium launched into space in rockets known to explode. And depleted uranium poisoning the battlefield, depopulating the land. Chemical warheads and biological black magics, sarin and soman and VX and phosgene, anthrax and smallpox and plague, enough to take out entire cities, enough to cover the planet. And they don't care who lets them out, as long as they get to play. Other nasties lurch toward us on their own, old friends, new creations, and recent escapees. Ebola, Marburg, Lassa, and SARS, swine flu, bird flu, HIV, and AIDS. The rebound of tuberculosis, cholera, malaria, and typhus. Prions and mad cows, scrapy sheep, and chronic wasting disease. Cancers that eat away our lungs, our brains, our breast, our testicles, and our ovaries. The new monsters peer over the horizon. Good intentions spliced to blind arrogance and numbing greed. Frankenfoods and Terminator seeds. Herbicide-tolerant and pesticide-laced crops. Patented life, barely tested, quietly ticking, let loose upon the land, as if their creators, having looked at the world, managed to learn nothing at all. The monster's howls grow frenzied. Chemicals in our land, our sky, our rain, our rivers, our food, our bodies, our babies. Rising male infertility rates and Superfund sites and ozone depletion. Rivers dammed and salmon doomed. Topsoil loss and fertilizer runoff. Huge oceanic dead zones and depleted fisheries. And the ghosts of silent whales scraping over the corpses of coral reefs. The monsters advance and forests collapse under their feet, leaving indigenous cultures battered, homeless, soul-sick, or dead. Disrupting water and oxygen cycles and turning soil into deserts as tigers and salmon and tree frogs and falcons stumble down the path toward extinction, their heart-rending voices lost in the chatter of chainsaws and the coughing insults of bulldozers. And all the while the climate is changing. Angry summers, insistent floods, belligerent blizzards, grudging droughts and pissed-off hurricanes, with poles warming and ice shelves calving, permafrost slumping and glaciers receding, sea levels rising and big cities sinking, as ocean currents halt and superstorms gust, deserts expand and rabbits run and locusts hoard and army ants march and mosquitoes hunt and rodents overrun. The balance undone. Leaving crops destroyed and diseases vectored and famine and rioting and looting and war. The ocean turns acid and corals and shellfish and planktons dissolve. The disruption of food chains, the collapsing of ecosystems, tonight on the Weather Channel. Watch it now while you can, because oil is peaking with no clear replacements. Production will falter as demand keeps increasing, and the price, which is rising now, will just keep on rising. Imagine the impact of the global economy, to the truckers and farmers, to your neighbors, yourself. Watch the bidding war rage from trade floors to battlefields. Watch the Pentagon plan and the Patriots Act. Go look out the window. Do you feel a draft? World populations fueled by the input of oil. We could reach 7 billion by 2013. That's billions of bodies more than the planet can sustain without oil. We're consuming the planet and poisoning the soil and the air and the water that we all need to live. We're driving a high-speed train to the end of life, and we're taking the rest of the planet, trillions upon trillions of living souls, along with us. And all of this is wrapped tightly inside a culture of denials and lies and absurdities so complex and so powerful that we can barely see through the smog. The monsters are screeching at the village's edge, so huge and so horrible that we cannot bear to look at them. And we, bound in a cultural straitjacket of our own making, slumber on as they draw near. Working jobs we hate, consuming products that do not fulfill, distracting ourselves as best we can with television, drugs, food, sex, and entertainments, hoping our leaders will find some answers, awakening, finally, in the still hours of early morning, to the shapeless realization that they will not